Hi guys, it's Patricia from tarantulaheaven.com. We have Miss Spidey, a Grammostola rosea, right here, being a beautiful girl. We also have my cat to the side in her tent. She looks like she's gonna come out, but she looks like she's thinking about it, so maybe she'll make an appearance. I think you can just see her ears right now. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about an article I found about PETA, which I was actually very surprised to find. I randomly stumble across some pretty interesting things on Facebook, and so I wouldn't have found this any other way. I usually don't check PETA's website or what they're doing as much as I love animals. So I wanted to share it with you because you probably didn't see it either. I saw this post on Facebook, and it turned out that PETA wrote an article about tarantulas, which is probably something I never thought I would say, is PETA and tarantulas in the same sentence. But People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals actually advocated for the responsible treatment of tarantulas, and I think this is great. PETA is a controversial organization, and not that they stand for amazing things, but it's more of just like their delivery is sometimes turns people off, which I think can sometimes hurt their message. But I thought this was actually a huge step forward for the tarantula keeping hobby and community, because that means that these animals are closer now that a huge organization is advocating for them. They're closer to being animals that are actually respected and valued, and hopefully maybe even protected by certain laws or things like that. So I thought it was really interesting. I love to see organizations say that these creatures deserve respect and that their rights matter. And especially coming from an organization that has historically been about furrier, more mammalian creatures. So I thought this was really cool. And some of the stuff was interesting that they wrote, because I kind of expected to be very disappointed when I read this post, because I was like, oh God, what? Like, I imagine like these people know nothing about tarantulas. Like, what are they possibly going to write? But I was pleasantly surprised for the most of it. So I'll share some big points that they made. The first one was, tarantulas are not into you. Love it. I think that's such an important point, that people know that especially for people new to the hobby, that this is not a pet that you can have the expectations that you would have as with a dog or a cat. These animals, as far as we know, are not emotional. Even if they could feel emotions, they definitely don't express them. Spidey has never expressed any level of emotion. She actually expresses complete indifference, doesn't even know of my existence as far as I know. So I thought that was really important for PETA to point out, because yes, a lot of people will get these animals and then abandon them, and it's the same thing that people do with dogs and cats if it's like either too much work or it's not what they expected. So I wouldn't want to see that happen to tarantulas or any other creature. So I love that. PETA also stressed the importance of understanding the responsibility you're taking on, because tarantulas can live for decades. I've had Spidey, who is, by the way, a full-grown Chilean rose hair, elderly, for 8 years. She was already an adult when I got her. So this spider could be like 20 years old. She could live for another 10 as a female. So people have to understand that even if you get a male and you raise him from birth, you maybe have 5 to 6 years with this spider. This is not a spider. Ooh, she's like, right on, mom. She's being beautiful. I wonder if she's gonna get a drink or wave hi. But anyway, so you need to understand this is a long-term pet, just as I feel like people should understand that with bunnies or dogs or cats, turtles even. Like, these are pets that you really need to think about the full commitment that you're making. They also talk about tarantulas having terrible eyesight, so true, and also about how tarantulas kind of see with their hair and their feet, like they kind of sense the vibrations. So I think that that's also really important, because if you're thinking about getting a pet who can recognize you or is going to see you and get happy, that's also not what tarantulas do. So good for them for pointing that out. She is moving towards her water bowl. I'm actually, so her butt is in a position that I have seen before, and I'm wondering if she's actually gonna poop on camera. I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but this could be an interesting video. Anyway, so another really important one. Don't expect to be amused by a tarantula. Oh my goodness, what an important point. Good job, Peta, for pointing this out. Yes, a healthy tarantula is going to have full mobility. It's going to move every once in a while, but this is not an amusing pet. Tarantulas are commonly called pet rocks, especially ones like Spidey, who's a Chilean rosehair. There are certain tarantulas that are well known for not moving for days. That's what she can do. I mean, she's moving around now today, but if you look at any of my other videos, 9 times out of 10 she's laying there and she's not doing a damn thing. So the other thing to notice is that tarantulas are usually nocturnal, so even if they were to move around and do their spider stuff, you're probably not going to see it. And they're also very easily startled, so if you were to turn on a light or make some noise or come close to their tank, that might cause them to stop what they're doing or run away and hide. So these are not super active, super display type animals, and usually a calm tarantula means a non-moving tarantula. That is certainly true from what I've seen and what I'm seeing from a lot of people, is that like if your tarantula is just hanging out, that means that they're not stressed. And they like to lay around a lot. The other thing is tarantulas are really good at escaping, and they're hard to catch and find when they do. So be aware that you need to be fully prepared about what you're going to do. Another thing is that you need to do a lot of research and accept the responsibility of, like, if my tarantula gets hurt or there's something wrong with them, I am probably going to be the doctor, because usually people don't live near exotic pet veterinarians. There is none near me. I don't know many people who are really good with tarantulas or have tarantulas. So unless you live near an exotic pet doctor, you're going to be the surgeon if there's something wrong with your tarantula. So think about that before you really get into it. It's not like, you know, vets live in every town for dogs and cats. No, a lot of people don't know anything about these animals. So you have to do a lot of research before you get one if you're going to be a completely responsible pet owner. They also should not really be handled. It is dangerous to handle tarantulas, and they honestly don't really like it either. So that is something. A lot of people feel pressured when I get into this hobby to handle tarantulas because they want to either feel brave or they feel like that is the reason they got into this hobby, was to hold an animal. But tarantulas really aren't this kind of animal. They really don't like to be picked up. It actually is quite stressful for them. One thing, however, I did disagree with PETA, and this was like one of their last points, was that there's no such thing as an ethical pet tarantula. I don't really agree, although I kind of feel like I know where they're coming from, but I think like this is more like PETA's stance on a lot of things, in that like a wild animal should not be kept in captivity. But I disagree, because I think tarantula owners actually work really, really hard to be as ethical as possible. There are certainly ethical concerns in the tarantula keeping community about captive breeding, importing, good husbandry, certain laws about the selling and capturing of tarantulas. Those are all ethical issues, but I do feel like the tarantula hobby is very, very good at knowing the laws, and like they're actually not, it's not a community where like I think there's a lot of people breaking laws or like not doing anything about people breaking laws. Like tarantula owners communicate with each other if there's a bad seller or breeder, or if somebody has imported tarantulas without the right paperwork or documentation, and they actually really follow the laws. So I honestly don't think that that is completely true. I actually think that as a community, tarantula keepers, like, we want to see these animals treated right and gone through the right ethical venues. We want these creatures to have protected habitats. We want them to have good treatment and good husbandry. You know, last thing you want to do is go in a tarantula Facebook group with the wrong kind of substrate or not enough of it. So, you know, this is not a community that stays silent when an animal's not being treated fairly. So I disagree with PETA on that. But I think I understand where they're coming from. I mean, yes, if we are keeping these wild creatures in a little tank, we must do what we can to make sure they are being treated well, that they have enough enrichment, that they are being fed good things, that they are kept safe, and that we are looking out for them, even if they can never say thank you or never give us affection in return. Anyway, like I said, I didn't think I would see this crossover from PETA with tarantulas. However, I was actually really happy to see it because that means people are paying attention to these creatures and it raises awareness. A lot of people have their eyes on PETA. A lot of animal lovers have their eyes on PETA. So I hope that just by them giving attention to tarantulas and advocating for the fair treatment and responsible pet ownership of tarantulas, that maybe that message spreads a little bit further. Anyway, I'll link the post down below in case you want to read it for yourself. And let me know what you think about it. All right, take care. Bye, guys.